All right, so now we'll talk about the principle of two weaknesses. We talked about this last time a little bit.
Yeah, and just for everybody that doesn't know, because the title doesn't reflect it, we've been doing the Jeremy Silman Endgame, Complete Endgame's book. And what part are we in? What did you just say?
8.
8. Okay, so we're doing the very beginning of 8, or?
No, we did the beginning of 8 last time.
Oh, okay.
We did like the first section in part 8, but now we're on the second section of
Oh,
part
okay,
8.
I'd forgotten that. Okay, I'm sorry you just said that. But, all right, so anyway, that's what we're doing. So go ahead.
Right, so the principle of two weaknesses. You hear about this a lot, actually, when people are talking about chess. In the middle game, it's quite common to see a player saddling his opponent with as many weaknesses as possible. In general, it's hard to tear down a defensive position if there's only one weakness to attack. However, 2 or more weaknesses, or unfavorable imbalances, for example, weak squares, weak pawns, material disadvantage, or anything that causes a problem for the opponent, they often spread the defense enough to allow breakthroughs to occur. So maybe like one side of the board you're up a pawn, and the other side of the board they have a weak pawn.
Mm-hmm.
So you can press with your extra pawn on one side and also attack their weak pawn on the other side. So they have 2 weaknesses to deal with.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So here's a nice middle game example that'll spill over into the end game.
Mm-hmm.
He promises.
Yeah, SM Rosny, to set odds, you go into, instead of live chess, it says live beta, I believe. And to be able to access beta features, you have to actually join the beta club on chess.com, and I forgot the exact name of it right now. But once you join that club, then you can access the beta features.
I'm more about that alpha club.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's a new feature they just added, but that they need to expand it a little bit. It's a little bit limited.
All right, so here we go. It's white to move. Just make sure this is the right position. Material is equal. Yeah, looks right.
All right.
This was Unzicker against Donner from 1955. White to play. White's clearly better thanks to his passed pawn, which can push to d6 whenever he wants, and the loosening of black's king's position. However, the passed pawn alone won't win the game. He's going to need to create another weakness to stretch black's defense to the breaking point. I'm about to break. A4.
They're asking what level of play is this chapter?
This is the master one. This is like master. So this is stuff I'm going to learn from and you guys won't.
Yeah, and I know it's real hard for everybody, but I do think since we're getting close to the end of the book, that we should go ahead and do it. And I got something out of the last lesson. I thought that last lesson was actually easier for me than the previous one.
It's less technical.
Because it was just pawns, and so for me it was just easier to tell what was in the bishops. But then the rook, the stuff with the rooks was extremely difficult.
Rooks are tough.
Yeah.
It's funny because they're like the easiest piece to, like, as far as how they move. Just very straightforward. You know, up and down, side to side. Can't get any simpler than that. But still, they are very difficult in the end game.
I felt like that material was more difficult to understand than the last section, which theoretically should have been a little bit harder. Unless it was from, I don't know, some of the rook lessons have been hard for me.
Oh, you know, it's different for everybody, I guess.
You're a chess bra sub, so you can't be beta?
So it must be a joke.
That'd be a joke.
All right, so A4. So here's his plan. He wants to play A5 and then take on B6. Then he'll have a backwards B pawn. Pretty simple plan. And also, if he does that, then B5 will also be weak because you can never play A6 in that case. So this is actually a common middle game idea. I've done this myself many times. But now Donner panics. Sorry, you're going to say something there?
Yeah. So how can you force them to have the backwards beat? Like, they might take, right?
Here, they might take?
Yeah.
Well, then we isolated this pawn and that pawn. Give
True.
yourself 2 isolated pawns then.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're happy to, ruin their structure anyway.
Yeah.
It's up to them. They want isolated pawns, they want backwards pawns, fine. Take your pick. Dealer's choice.
I guess it is better to have just the one. Okay.
Yeah, so this is why Donner actually panicked here a bit and played the move A5 himself, thereby preventing white from playing A5. He saw the writing on the wall there. But this is a dubious move. White has a strong pass pawn, like usual, And now it's still b6 is weak.
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Still weak.
And b5 is a nice square for the knight, or, you know, maybe even the queen if they trade, to live on that square. So this is already even enough to force a win. White should be winning here. Although he doesn't actually give an improvement for black. At least maybe later he will, but not now. Maybe it doesn't matter. But, well, I know why Donner did this, because he didn't want the A file to open as well. You know, not that that's a huge deal, I guess, but that's why you would play A5, because then we can't open up the A file. But, anyways, queen b5. Nice. Hitting that pawn. And then here comes d6. Nice. So he's hitting the pawn, and he's pushing his own pawn. Tough. Queen c6. In the actual game, queen d8 was played. A little bit more passive. He lost with hardly a whimper. After this, like this. Yeah, that's bad. That's really bad. Some lift. Queen c4. This is a terrible position, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, it's bad, but it's not resignable. That's the worst part. So you can't, like, black can't resign here. That would be, like, stupid, you know. So he just has to suffer. Too bad. I wish my position was a little worse so I could resign. So now if you take the pawn, I'll play like queen d8. A little tactical defense there. Lost my spot. He played here. And then after this, he resigned. He says, we'll promote to a queen, and then we'll win your queen. Or you can use the other rook, but it's easier for me to do this one. So that was too passive of a defense, and that's the problem with this situation. He had a weak pawn, and this pawn was good, and you can't just sit back passively and defend when you have two weaknesses.
Right.
If one weakness, sure, fine. But two weaknesses is too much. That's too much, man. Classic Bojack. Anybody in the chat have anything to say?
No, they're just chiming in.
Agreeing with me.
Yeah.
Good, good. Queen c6 would have been a better defense. Let's take a look. X-clam. It is an X-clam, I guess, because I wouldn't play that. Here. So now the point is you give up the pawn, but you're in an eternal pin. It's like the eternal flame, but pins. Rook b7.
Hey, the real Greco.
I mean, rook a7, obviously. And knight d5. So now the weakness of b6 is coming back to haunt him. Also, this would win the bishop as well. White threatens knight f6, and knight takes b6, which can't be stopped. White can torture his helpless and lost opponent in several ways. There, here. Clearly the creation of a second weakness, which was b6, is far from a trivial accomplishment. It's true that, you know, paid off, the dividends paid off pretty well here. All right, that's it for this example. Let's move on to the next example.
Okay, cool. I actually understood that one.
Yeah, that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I mean, the principle of two weaknesses is easy to understand as a concept. It's a little more difficult to put into play.
Yeah,
in a game.
I can see that.
But these guys are pretty good, so it's really instructive to see how they get it done.
Definitely. Scottish Demon Goat says, no, b6, my favorite pawn.
That's true. That is his favorite pawn.
No.
Okay, let's make sure this is correct.
Hey, Neurononim, how's it going?
Oh, Neurononum's always chiming in for just a minute before he goes back to school or whatever.
No.
School's for losers. All right, here's a game. It's a pretty recent game from 1907. Rubenstein against Cohn. I don't know who Cohn is. Cohn. A lot of people have that name.
Mm-hmm.
Rubenstein, pretty famous. White to move. So an untrained eye might consider things in this position to be fairly balanced. However, white enjoys certain advantages that decisively tip the scales in his favor. Here's the short list. Superior king position. Can't argue with that. A passed c-pawn after a well-timed c4. Black's a-pawn is a target. That can be attacked if white's rook is able to penetrate.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Those are the three advantages that white has here. So, two problems must be addressed. One is whether black's e-pawn is a strength or a weakness. The other is trying to find a way for white to infiltrate with his rook. So, Rubenstein played a really nice move here. Rook h3. Exclam. This maneuver aims to turn black's kingside pawns into a weakness. Defending h and g pawns will force black to make some concessions, which, when taking white's other pluses into account, should prove decisive. There's only so many problems you can have in one position. h6. Mihail Marin, who's a great author and grandmaster,
Mm-hmm.
in his fantastic book, Learn from the Legends, Chess Champions at Their Best, gave a couple of ways white can successfully deal with g6. The idea of g6 is that, well, if you take, you can't take my other pawn when I take this pawn. Let's see what Marin has to say about this move. Here's one. He gave a couple of examples. Here's one. We'll still take this, but now we can go around and attack this weakness again. If you try to take here, we can take this. And here, and this should lose for black. I've got this passed pawn. I can take that. If you try to defend it, I can take that. So rook a6 to not give you a passed pawn. Rook c6, obviously, to not give you a passed pawn. Now we're threatening this. That would be deadly. But look, we still got to take the pawn anyway. Here, we'll go on a bit here. Actually, quite a bit, I should say. There's a lot of moves here. Hopefully I don't lose my place too many times. It's like so many moves.
Mm.
Still tough. So he only got to take one pawn, which is kind of nice. So he doesn't have a passed pawn yet without having to move his king, which will take a minute at least. So that's what he does. Nice, this is nice. Check and rook a2. Got him. He can still try to fight a little bit here. But now we'll be able to stop his pawn and win the game. For example, let's say here, I guess. Yeah, too bad you can't go here because you'll hang your pawn. But now we win easily here now. Frankly, obviously. So that was a very long variation. So you can tell from me rewinding it here.
What book is this? Alert 94?
This one.
Silman's complete endgame course. And then trying not to learn says, why not rook b6 again? Why rook e6?
I can figure out when he means it. He wants to go here.
Okay.
Instead of rook e6. Well, that could win. That could win, yeah. I mean, this variation won, so you can't really complain about it. This move could win, too. I mean, I'd imagine even this move might win. But that's a little tougher, because after rook a3, you can't move your rook anymore. So you should move your rook, yes. Yeah, you should move your rook. Probably rook b6 does win, I guess. It looks like it should. I don't see a big difference.
Well, you get that check.
Yeah. I mean, you get a check, but you have to move your rook here and then move it back. So you don't really gain time.
True.
Should be about the same. But I think it is an improvement because we don't have to play king takes. So our king can stay here, and that might be better for defense, actually. It might not matter. But I don't know. You have to ask Mihail Marin about that. Mihail Marin. It's because there's another grandmaster, Mihai Suba. But he doesn't have an L at the end. Mihail Marin does have an L.
Okay.
Mihail Marin.
Yeah, hang on one second. So yeah, so you're studying that yourself, Lert? Well, that's cool.
Nice.
We've you can check our video.
Spoiler alert.
You can check the video on demand lecture streams, and you can see all the book that you missed, and also on our YouTube channel.
Absolutely.
If you're interested. How much is the book? I have no idea. I've had it for a while.
It says it's $25, but that could change. So 2 new weaknesses since he played here, provoking h6. 2 new weaknesses have occurred in the position, g6 and g7. Here, now you could play g5, but then we'll go back here, and you're actually losing a pawn, I guess. Because if you move your king away to protect, I'll take the e-pawn. So it's not great. So he played king f6. That's probably the best defense. But now he gets to get his king in here. And this is exactly like what we're talking about when we talk about stretching the defense. He had to defend these squares with the king, but that gave up this square. So we get in this way. He can't defend everywhere. White's vast superiority is now strikingly clear. White's king is completely dominant, and black's e-pawn has now been labeled as weak. Can't argue with that. Here, check. Classic Rubenstein here. G3. Nice. He's not in a big hurry. As discussed in the cat and mouse section, a player shouldn't hesitate to make a quiet fixing move if his opponent is helpless, which he is. Placing the pawn on g3 gets the pawn off the second rank in case he wants to play check and come in here. Now there's no pawn to attack on g2. He can attack one pawn, just play h3 or h4. And yeah, having all his pawns on the third rank makes sense when he's got his rook here to defend them all. Really good technique by Rubenstein, as you would expect. Is this class A, and who are this is the master section. The players are Rubenstein against some guy. And when the king gets to b6, it will be all over. That's true. Here. Now we can try to pick up that pawn. He says no, no, no. But here we go. Finally get our pass pawn that we talked about earlier. Yeah, now he's just totally helpless in this position. Such good technique by Rubenstein. But that's what he was known for. Rook a8. Now that looks not great, to put it mildly. But if you try to play more normal, like this, maybe here, but okay. It's not going to help, really. So he plays rook a8. I mean, I wouldn't defend that way, but it's hopeless anyway, I guess.
Yeah.
Rook a8, exclaim. And resigns. White will win the black pawn, or the black rook for the pawn, by going here and there. And then even if black does the same, and then takes with the king, we'll just go take this and queen. Because our king will be over here, and their king will be on g1. So it's an easy, easy win now. Really nice. So that was a great example by Rubenstein. I really like how he provoked the weakness here, forcing the king to go to f6, and now he can infiltrate.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just made it look too easy. g3 is really nice. And c4, yeah, and then it's going to win for sure now. Yeah, the guy tried his best, but I guess your best wasn't good enough. Is this Akiba or the other Rubenstein? I think it's the chess player, not the pianist. Just a guess, though. Hey, let's look at another example then.
Yeah.
This will be a nice Smyslov example. Big fan of Smyslov. Although my favorite world champion is Tigran V. Petrosian, not to be confused with Tigran L. See if I do all this.
Yeah, all the streams last night.
We're talking about him.
Oh, everybody was talking about the cheating scandal.
Yeah, it was good on Wesley to call him out like that.
Yeah.
I love how Wesley did it too. Oh, thanks GM Benjamin Finegold for 200 bits. Like all Wesley did was say that he played very well, but then everybody knew, oh, okay, he's cheating. That's why he said that. You know, like it wouldn't have been an insult if the guy wasn't cheating. If you're like, wow, this guy's playing better than Magnus, I'd be like, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Well, he went on to say other stuff too, but yeah, that, you know.
Well, that's what started it.
It started it.
Yeah.
But it was.
And GM Benjamin Finegold gifted a tier 1 sub.
Yeah, thank you, GM Benjamin Finegold. But I mean, it was clear that he was saying the guy cheated. And then people were calling him out for it. And then next thing you know, chess.com, because they said you shouldn't talk about that here. And then they issued a statement.
Oh, thanks for the $5 donation for a haircut. Haircuts cost more than $5 though.
Thank you, Marquette Sands. Is that for me a haircut or you a haircut?
Probably me.
Oh, mine needs cutting. I haven't had a haircut since the pandemic.
201 bits from trying not to learn. Thanks.
Thank you for that.
Oh, and Market got a thank you from a grandmaster as well.
Yay. All right.
All right, so we'll look at this position. It's Smyslov with white against Samarian from 1966.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that 201 since today's trying not to learn. I didn't see that till just now.
Oh, I said thank you.
Oh, I didn't even hear you.
Yeah, I'm always saying thanks. So here, white has an annoying edge. Oh, another 202 bits. We're going up by 1 bit.
Thank you, Ben.
Aside from his superior kingside pawn structure, both his rook and knight are more active than the black counterparts. The main target is Scottish Demon Goat's favorite, b6. But before laying siege to it, white fixes black's kingside pawn weakness. g4 exclam, a great move. Now f6 and h7 are long-term additions to black's list of problems. Indeed, this was a great move because if you have black here, you'd like to play f5. Oh, 203 from trying not to learn.
Yay, thank you,
Nice.
Trying Not to Learn. Now, wait, now, I'm sorry. I missed what you said for obvious reasons. So, I'm sorry. I'm afraid I know what it was. Just keep going.
Okay.
I just got confused for a minute.
Well, I can tell you some things that I was talking about.
Yeah.
So white's rook's better.
Okay.
White's knight's better.
Yeah, I got that.
So we're going to target the b6 pawn. And also black has weak pawn structure here because it's not on g6.
No,
on f6.
oh, okay. That was what I didn't hear what you said. I can see it now. I just didn't hear what you said.
So g4 stops f5, thereby making this pawn extra weak, which is nice. And now h5. Black doesn't want to wait for white to play rook c6, followed by this, which would collect the pawn because you have to move your knight and I'll take it. So he doesn't really want to wait for that. He's trying to do something to distract white. But Smyslov's like, oh, look at that. It's a free pawn. Give me that. Give me that free pawn. No, I'll take it back. Smyslov's very insistent on his free pawn. Here comes a check. And f4. So good defense by black so far. Smyslov is not a weak player. I've heard of him, actually, although I don't know how to pronounce his name. But I've seen him around town, you know. And f4 is definitely a good defense. Trade off one of his doubled pawns.
Right, yeah.
Why not? Rook c8.
What are you saying, Scottish Demon Goat? The most precious pawn?
b6.
Oh.
Of course. And rook d5. Trying to get that back. I mean, if black could win back his pawn, he'll be all right. See, lost my place as usual. Okay, check.
Why does white defend and not go with your plan, says Lurt.
Well, he likes to be a pawn up. That's all. If he can keep... This is a passed pawn. If you can keep your extra passed pawn, you might as well. That's what he wants. He just wants a passed pawn. Yeah, black gets to take the pawn back. Like let's say, probably here, instead of going here. And he does this and that. It's a success for black to have traded the h-pawn for the g-pawn, in that case. So Smyslov's not going to give you a success. Thanks, Southern Chris, for 204 bits.
Yay. Everybody's outdoing everybody. Thank you, Southern Chris.
So he doesn't want to say like, oh, that was a success for black to trade the h-pawn for g-pawn. Smyslov's trying to refute that by just being a pawn up now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 205 from GM
Yay.
Finegold.
Thank you, Ben.
It's like an auction. It's like when Amy was buying a car on Futurama. You guys know.
Oh,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So I thought it was an auction.
I actually have seen that one. I've only seen like a couple of...
That is a really good scene when they're at the car shop buying a car. That was too funny.
I've seen that and the dog, the dead dog.
Oh, that's a sad one, yes.
Those are about the only two I've seen.
So he checked him to get his king off the pawn. Then he goes here to attack the knight. Easy stuff to understand. Then here threatening e6. Also preparing an attack against black's king. Yeah, rook and knight are a potent mating combo. Mm-hmm. So don't forget about that. He might want to play knight f3 to g5. And if his rook, knight, and pawn and king can get in on it, it might be mate town. So, rook e5. This prevents knight takes e6, obviously, but gives white time for his kingside plans. Rook e4 check. If you take the pawn after... Oh, played it again. If you take the pawn, then after here you can't defend this. It's impossible. You know, rook f3 would hang the rook, so... So he gives the check. And now it takes. Thinking, haha, can't play knight g5. Taking here is a mistake, though, for the record. He should play knight d5 with a much better defense. Although Silman doesn't really say if this is, you know, a win by force or not. Obviously, white's still much better. But either way, knight d5 is a better defense. As we'll see, rook e3 is going to lose. Check. And then check. A little deflection here. Both sides only have 2 pawns left, so one might expect black to have real chances to survive. The problem is, though, that black's king is in serious trouble. By mixing threats to black's king and pawns, white can eventually pick up on b6 and walk away in a 1 rook and pawn endgame. So here, knight e4. Oh, sorry, Scottish Demon Goat, not knight d5, protecting b6. Mm-hmm. Black needs to have his knight participate in the defense. Jumping into e4 doesn't work, but neither does knight d5. Knight g5. This is Scottish Demon Goat's move here. e5. Losing instantly would be to take. Knight h7 with mate. Actually can't really stop that. So, knight g5, e5. Knight here, threatening mate again. Knight f4 check. This is the point of playing e5, is that we're allowed knight f4 check now. because it's defended. Knight takes, e takes, rook takes. So now we're a pawn up. That's a good start if you want to win. And he's just going to go collect the b pawn. He's not going to try to save this pawn. What's nice is the rook cuts this off, and then we'll go win this. We already know from like part 3 or whatever that this is a win. Which, even if we didn't know that, it would be pretty clear. So here to try to cut him off, but now rook f5 to go like this.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way that black can prevent this. You can't stop me from going here and taking it.
Right.
If you ever attack my pawn, I'll just go there.
Hey, Frankie Lioness.
This is a forced win now. So knight d5 doesn't get it done.
Scottish Demon Goat says, I was talking about the other position where knight d5 was suggested instead of taking a pawn.
Here. Oh yeah, knight d5 is the best move, right? That's true. Yeah, that's true. Knight e4, that's what he played here. Here comes the h-pawn. Here comes Utah. And resigns. Yeah, got him. It's definitely going to win now.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly. Yeah, really nice technique there by Smyslov, as you would imagine. But yeah, he could have defended better with knight d5. Still, I kind of wonder, why can't I just do like he did? Guess I can. Well, in this variation, he's a tempo up because he already has his knight on d5. Taking here would transpose to what we looked at. Oh, now we can go here check. See, we couldn't do this in the other variation because the rook was already on e3.
Mm-hmm.
But now we can just check here. That's his, winning for black, actually. Because, you know, you lose your rook. Even knight here, you play rook takes knight. So rook takes e3 was bad because it doesn't have that defense in this position. I can't go there. And now this is allowing me to, like, mate you with all my guys. Like how we saw in those variations. Tough. I wish Silman would have said all that so I wouldn't have to figure it out.
You'd still draw that as white?
Well, at the end when it's 2 pawns up? Maybe. Maybe you would, but I don't think Smyslov would. Was that Smyslov? I already forgot.
I think he
was
Smyslov.
There's so many games that we've looked at. It's like, can't remember. All right, we got 2 more examples. You think yeah, we can sneak them in, right?
Maybe. I wouldn't go, we don't want to go late. But
All right. Let's try to...
Let's do one.
See how it goes.
And if we can sneak the other one in, then it sounds like we should. Is that from the same section? Subsection?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm not sure if he's going to be ready. I think he's just waiting on us. I think he's already ready.
Already Richard ready.
Yeah, Ben is going to be streaming soon, and we're going to raid him. And he's going to also get to be on the front page of Twitch.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool.
That is cool.
All right, so here we go. Alekhine against Samisch from 1925. White has an extra passed b-pawn. He doesn't wish to push it right away, since that would expose his king. Instead, he patiently plays to create a second weakness in black's position. Queen d4. Here's a quote by Alekhine. By this and his following move, white selects the correct winning plan, which is the advance of his kingside pawns. The passed b-pawn must be advanced only later, with the exchange of queens, the danger of perpetual check will be eliminated. I like how Alekhine, he always does this in his comments. Alekhine will, he won't say, I did this, or I should do that. He'll say, like, white did this, or white is going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he keeps it very objective.
Yeah.
Bishop d3 exclam.
It's like he knew the generations would be reading the analysis, you know.
He did know that. Definitely. Now, if you take the pawn, you get forked. So he plays king f7 instead. And there he goes. He's making some weaknesses. h7's weak now. Queen c6. And bishop e4 exclam. White could have exchanged queens with queen e4. But he decided to only do so when the h-pawn is fixed, forcing the black king to stay and babysit the pawn. So if you trade now, then I can play h6.
Mm-hmm.
So what Alekhine wants is to play here first. Then he'll trade queens. Then you have to keep your king on g8 the whole game, which will definitely lose. Because otherwise, you lose your pawn.
Mm-hmm.
It's not acceptable. White didn't fall for this. Takes. Oh, come on. Takes. Check. I am moving the king. Check. Mainly, etc.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's going to be a lecture or not. I'm not sure what Ben is doing.
I like lectures.
Mm-hmm.
Queen b5.
Hey, intelligent. How's it going?
Nice.
Hope you're feeling all right.
Right. Our COVID watcher.
Mm-hmm.
h6. So now he's happy that he fixed that pawn on a light square forever. So then once he trades queens, he's going to win now. He can push this pawn, and he's attacking that pawn. 2 weaknesses. Good technique from Alekhine. Not what he's really known for, but obviously he could win an endgame with the best of them. Bishop c2. Exclam. You can't take the pawn because your knight's hanging. So queen b5. And now he forces the trade of queens with queen d3. Only now is white ready to force the trade of queens. The difference between this position and earlier, as we already mentioned, is that the h-pawn can't go to h6 anymore after the queen trades.
Yeah. Poshi, you should turn your notifications on, then you'll be notified when the stream starts.
That is smart.
Aw, sorry you're late, though.
Now, for the record, bishop takes also wins, but that would be bad technique, because you know that you're going to win here, because it's 2 weaknesses. Here, they could check you a lot. They could check you a lot. So you don't know that you're going to escape the checks. Well, the computer says it wins, I guess, because he said it did. Assume he checked with the computer. See you later, trying not to learn, unless you said that to somebody else. Oh, no, he said I'm going to grab food.
Yeah, he's always grabbing that food.
Nice.
All right, see you in a little bit, try not to learn. I'm not going to be playing viewers today, intelligent.
Got too much to do for that.
But mainly because Ben's waiting to start streaming. Otherwise, I would be happy to.
Knight c8. Well, he could have defended his pawn with king g8, but then you're going to lose. Just push the pawn, bring my king up.
It doesn't mean anything. Just means you're, eat some food. A good amount of food.
Even thin people eat food, or so I've heard. I don't know.
Well, he's in college, so, he probably eats more food than...
After this, black just resigned. It's amazing what a second weakness can do in the opponent's position. He created this weakness, and then after he took it, the guy has to resign.
Mm-hmm.
And if he defended it, then that was losing as well. So what do you think? We have time for the last one? Still 11 minutes.
I think so. Because there can be a little bit of overlap.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. Yes, you're a growing lad.
So this will be Oiva with white against somebody I can't even begin to pronounce their name. Actually, I could. Just give me a second here. It's tough to pronounce the name and set up the position. White to play. This looks right. It's Doesburgh. Van Doesburgh. From the Dutch Championship 1938. Before going on, I can imagine some of you screaming, wait a second, white's a pawn up and should be winning easily. Why bother even using such an example? It's a fair question, but I can answer it with a question of my own. How often have you, meaning all of us, failed to convert such a decisive plus? And I've been up a pawn and not won. Definitely. The beauty of this game is that white doesn't rest on his laurels, nor lose his concentration. In fact, he does what we all should learn to do in such situations. Don't give the opponent any counterplay whatsoever, and constantly strive to make new positional gains in the form of multiple enemy weaknesses. Let's see how he does it. Queen c5. This move more or less forces black, who would love to retain the queens and keep things as complicated as possible, to accept the trade of queens, since both a6 and b6 run into queen e5, or the rook will be permanently pinned to the king.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think we changed anything intelligent. But I guess Twitch could have.
So he goes queen f5, threatening the f-pawn and allowing the trade of queens. So white's happy to be in a rook endgame up a pawn, wisely bringing the king into the center. Absolutely horrible would be rook c5. Don't be in such a hurry. Oh, we got a subscription. Oh, actually, we got 10 subscriptions.
Yay!
From account 1 million or so.
Thank you,
10
account.
million? It's hard to see all the zeros.
All your zeros. Thank you so much. Yay. I appreciate it.
See, okay, so it's a pawn up king and pawn endgame, but black's king is a lot better. And he can try to make use of that, like this. In fact, black's probably better here. Certainly not winning, but maybe. Maybe winning, yeah. So anyways, don't be in a hurry to trade into that endgame. Let's bring our king up first, then we'll trade into the endgame, then we'll win. There we go. We can look at it just to be sure. Nice. A5, still trying. I'd love to go A3 here, but we can check. Forcing the king away from the c pawn so we can take, and now black is lost, obviously, down 2 pawns. So, rook f6. And now rook a5 exclam. Strong move. Forces the creation of the hole on b6. And after white plays a4, a5, that'll be even worse on b6 for black. White isn't trying to win by simply using his extra pawn. He's trying to create as many weaknesses as possible in the opponent's position until the defense falls apart. You can never give your opponent too many weaknesses.
True.
That's true.
Hey, Indo Queen, how's it going? Thank you again for all those gift subs account. I really appreciate it.
Rook e5 cutting the king off. White's very patient here. Rook d6. And a5, freezing the big freeze. Remember, we talked about that earlier in the book. Black could have stopped that this way, but even still, after a6, he still has weaknesses. So it's not like that would have been much better. So that's why he just allowed him to do this. Now, if black does nothing, white's going to do that. Go to Scottish Demon Goat's favorite square. So f6. Here.
Glad you're enjoying the Silman, Southern Chris.
Now that black is more or less helpless, white begins a new plan. He wants to take this pawn and then have a passed e-pawn. So he goes, nope. But here it is. He's going to break on g5. Except for one thing. h5 exclam. g5, h takes, f5 is black's defensive idea. This would still win by getting his king to b6. Also, he could play d5 at some point. But h5 is even easier to win as a way of a plays. GH, no better is to play G5. F takes. You have to play F takes because H takes to give me a passed H pawn. But even still, I have a passed E pawn. And look at all these weaknesses. This is weak, that's weak, and I have a passed pawn.
Mm-hmm.
3 weaknesses. Check is a strong move here. And now his pawn can't be defended by the king. Or if he put his king here, then he can't defend against the passed pawn. So this will be a pretty easy win, says Silman. Hard to disagree with that. Already 3 weaknesses. So he took. That's the right decision. But now look at all these weaknesses. Everywhere there's a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Black's not only a pawn down, but also must care for all of his weaknesses that I pointed out. And even being a pawn down is a weakness in itself. So that other position is really 4 weaknesses. Things are looking grim, so black allows a little sequence that leads to an exchange of a few pawns. However, this doesn't really help. Black's happy to trade off all those weak pawns. Unfortunately, it's just dead lost here. Rook h2. This threatens rook f2, which would be game over. So he's got to go here. Only reasonable move, I guess. Because if here, we still get checked. And you have to go to the g file. And you're trapped the rest of the game. So Oiva calculated all this. There's no choice again. If he goes back, he gets checked. And if he goes here, check, you have to go to the g file again. So still Oiva was calculating all this because it's all forced. And b4. No counterplay here. Doesn't let him play c5. Great move. Black is now in zugzwang. Any pawn move loses material. King moves are illegal. Moving the rook away from the d file allows rook d6. So he played rook d8. But this allows me to go here. Yeah. Awful. Awful stuff. Rook e7 exclam. Super precise. Black must give up his b pawn or push it. Rook e7 is so good. It's still zugzwang. You can't go here. It's illegal. And so you got nothing to do. You have to push your b pawn. Moving your rook loses your b pawn. So he did this. After check, only legal move. Check, resigns. Gonna lose everybody. Really nice game by Oiva there. Very nice stuff.
Really nice.
He outplayed him at every point. And then he traded all the pawns because he saw he could force that zugzwang position too. Really good.
That's impressive.
No wonder he was world champion. And people are always trash talking him too.
Yeah?
Yeah, people are like, oh, Oiva's the weakest world champion.
Aw.
Still pretty
good.
Yeah, he's no joke.